Hi, everyone. This is Kurt Dell, one of the founders at Boonio. I've spent most of my career in and around professional services. As a partner in the Big Four, a client of the Big Three, and founding my own professional services firm, I've experienced firsthand what it's like to try and scale your own consulting business and to try and attract the right talent as a client. These are some of the reasons that we founded Boonio, to bring the world's best professional services talent to the clients that need them the most. What follows is a conversation with one of our Boonio professional services firms. We'll talk about some of the challenges that their businesses face, the services that they offer, and the future of professional services. I hope you enjoy it. Ready, set? Hi, everyone. This is Kurt Dale, one of the co-founders.
Look at the camera when you said hi, everyone.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Kurt Dale, one of the co-founders of Boonio. Again, I didn't look at the camera. You want you to stay for the whole intro. Look at it.
The whole intro.
Hi, everyone. This is Kurt Dale, one of the co-founders of Boonio, the B2B professional services marketplace. Now I've completely lost my train of thought because I'm staring at a camera instead of looking at a person. It was very, very awkward for me. I have to do this again. Hi, everyone. This is KD, one of the founders of Boonio, a B2B marketplace focused on professional services. Today, I am pleased to have with me one of our initial market participants, Jibran Bader, who is the managing partner at Catalect Consulting. Gibran, we are in kind of a pivotal point in the professional services industry, especially with the advent of AI. How have you seen that affect your business over the last few years?
Yeah, last few months and years have been tough. This year in particular, with AI now probably graduating a little bit from a B2C only kind of space where businesses are actively now using that for their internal workflow at least. So that's been very challenging for us as a consulting business. And then combine that with our internal workforce being heavily almost dependent on the LLMs, where you go like, well, where's your thinking in it, right? So the workforce and the clients are going rapidly. I think the workforce and the clients are rapidly evolving in the AI space. The clients are starting to sort of doubt the value that consulting is bringing right now. I'm not saying that that's the right thing about consulting. I'm just saying clients are really doubting the value because, again, if you can get a 30, 40 page report in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half a day, versus 6 weeks of, research, with all the citations and everything, the clients are rightly sort of doubting, hang on, why would I pay this much to the consultants? Now, what that means from a consulting point of view is that we have to be better at communicating our value proposition and adapting accordingly. That's on the client side of things. Workforce wise, we have to, I don't think there's any way you can ban the use of AI, right? And you should. The idea is that AI should be the front and center. But how do you keep the workforce engaged such that a junior resource is also trained enough in consulting with client, with stakeholder relationships, such that they can do consulting in the future? I think that's the need of the hour. That's what we need to think about as we train consulting workforce in the future.
So thinking about resources and talent, what kind of talent are you looking for these days?
So in terms of resource and talent, they have to be AI literate, right? AI native. If you're talking about very experienced folks who are stuck in the old ways, who are not very tech savvy, I mean, those guys are completely, I won't say dinosaurs, but they're really up against it. So people who are tech savvy but understand the business, they're street smart. If you look at the journey, if you look at our fathers, they had one company, one career pretty much all throughout their life, and that was fine. In fact, that was the way that was preferred. People appreciated the loyalty. The worker or employee also got the fact that, okay, we're going to stay in one firm and we're going to be fine. Now you're looking at not just the firm hopping that already started, I suppose, and even in the 90s and the early 2000s. But now you've got multiple different industries that you have to be familiar with. it's okay to switch from a banking to a consulting to a lawyer to a tech, right? It's okay to become a mid-level exec and then get an entrepreneurship, and then start your own thing and become a tech entrepreneur or any other entrepreneur. And I think people are more and more looking at this as the more viable skill set. So as long as you're as a talent, as long as you're flexible, you're innovative, and you're a constant learner, I think the constant learning is key, because you cannot stay still even for a day without learning. If you're stagnant, then you're finishing.
Do you think that move towards breadth rather than depth compromises delivery quality with consulting?
No, because now you've got enough tools to back the depth. And then obviously there's the whole client angle, right? So the client can bring a little bit of that depth and you bring that breadth. And then I think that combination works a lot better than if you just focus on consultants having the full depth and not the breadth to take it all in, right? Otherwise, why would you bring a consultant in? If you've got all the depth, if you're a 30, 40, 50-year-old company, which is an expert in, let's say, oil digging or something like that, you don't need to bring consultants in for that, right? But what you do need to bring consultants in is the outside perspective. Okay, what tech works for you in this industry? Whereas you can supplement the industry's core industry knowledge, and they can bring in the wider sort of, okay, what sort of process improvements, how is it working elsewhere in different industries, and borrow from them.
One of the things that we believe over at Boonio is that remote working, remote teams is the future. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, fully. What I say to that is COVID. I mean, it was a bad time for the world, so I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But the silver lining with COVID was that hybrid working and remote working really accelerated, right? People, firms and industries which were fully in the whole 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, or, I have to see that person, even cultures, right? With GCC, Pakistan, and, where it was all FaceTime. Now that has completely changed. Those industries and those countries are completely okay with remote working, and a level of professionalism has definitely increased in that way. Right? People are open to collaboration, obviously, with the advent of Teams and Zoom and all sorts of other collaboration tools during COVID. That and the adoption rate was crazy, right? So I think people are completely okay now after COVID with completely remote delivery, or if they're not okay with that, at least a hybrid.
And what advice would you give to founders, professional service consulting type founders? What would you, if you were to distill your experience being a professional services founder yourself, what would be the top 1 or 2 nuggets you'll give to them?
So I'd say, firstly, have a value prop that is very specialized and niche, and go after that. I think if you look at my learnings over the 3 years, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but what we do is we try and get the breadth so wide because we don't want to fail.
Yeah.
That we try and be everything to everyone. While that approach may work sometimes, and it definitely works for the larger firms, like you've got the Big Four and the McKinseys and the Accentures of the world, they can be everything to everyone because they have the breadth and the knowledge, and frankly,
Do you think they can be? I mean, they claim they can be.
Mixed results. I think, it's mixed results. And they can, at least they have the power or the wealth or the working capital, let's put it that way, to bring those expertise on and at least show you some credibility. Whether they deliver or not, hey, that's entirely project to project, people to people. I'm not going to comment. Right?
You mentioned working capital.
Yes.
That's always, in my mind, been one of the biggest challenges growing a firm. What do you think? How do you overcome that?
So the way we see it, honestly, is, and that's what we did at Catalect, was we started off as a consulting firm, make ourselves chargeable as soon as, but then very quickly make sure that you have a tech or a product play or something like that where you bring in recurring revenue. Right? Because consulting is once and done, right? If you're engaging me on a project, As soon as you say, okay, thank you very much, Gibran, I think that deliverable is done. Technically, we're done.
Yeah.
And as a firm, my revenue is done as well. Whereas now, if I take that revenue that I got and I plonk it in a product,
Yeah.
or any service that I think is recurring, that's where the value add is. That's where the IP is. That's where you build that moat around your business. Although the moats are fast diminishing, and we can talk about that as well. But at least there's some semblance of a recurring annual revenue monthly, whether that's SaaS or whether that's just a hardware SLA business. But needs to be something that's recurring. Otherwise, consulting business is very dangerous for a young firm startup, because otherwise you're great for 6 months and then you're finished in the 7th month, especially if you take on payroll cost and fixed costs and everything like that.
So you've just launched a service offering on Boonio, an AI-based service offering.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the AI assessment, we launched an AI assessment readiness tool on Boonio, which is a consulting service. And it's effectively a questionnaire which helps us. And what we're doing is it's a high touch questionnaire, right? It's not just a questionnaire that we just send you and you fill it out. The idea is that we sit with you on virtually, and we go run through that questionnaire with you. We guide you through it. And then on the back of that, we take a couple of days max, and then we come back to you and we show you our results and a report, and then give you feedback on what the next steps can be and how your AI strategy or roadmap looks like, and what the immediate next steps are that we can even take together.
And what kind of implementation kind of roadmaps do you see clients adopting?
What we recommend typically is pick a specific use case, right? And have a POC, rapid prototype, because this is not the typical design, build, test, deploy kind of mentality, which we previously used with tech, right? Which everyone's familiar with. In the world of AI, it's more about rapid prototyping, should see how it works. And if it doesn't work, just shelve it, right? These are small experiments that we run. And if they work, then you try and scale it a little bit more, either by increasing in volume or by adopting another use case or bringing another use case. But really what we recommend is pick a specific use case that you think you have enough data for and enough tech available that you're on the cloud, you've got data, you've got all that kind of stuff sorted. And it's niche enough that we can move very quickly. If we do that, I think then, and it's a very small experiment, honestly, which doesn't burn too much resources from your end or client's end or our end. And we prove our value very quickly. And then if you want to take it forward, take it forward. If not, we say, hey, AI isn't for you right now. That's something else. But that's the idea to have.
Understood. If you were a new consultant, just leaving university, what would be the top 2 or 3 pieces of advice you give yourself?
Oh, that's a very good. So be street smart, and what that means is book smart is one thing, but definitely street smart in the consulting world, especially, and I think generally, right? We put this as consulting, but generally be open to ideas, be aware of the geopolitical nature. If you're into arts, pursue that. If you're into science, do that. But really be familiar with what's happening in the world and have an opinion, right? So that's the second is at least have a base understanding of how tech works. Coding, like I don't have any coding experience right now, but
do you think you need to?
I think at least now I have a base level understanding of how AI, at least Gen AI, right? How that works, what sort of use cases can be developed. At least that level of understanding. It doesn't have to be full coding, because now, Andrew Karpathy, who's one of the top eminent AI folks, did OpenAI, and now he's doing it on his own. He said, the most universal program, most popular program language right now is English.
Yeah.
Right. So really, you don't need to know how to code necessarily, but what you do need is how does it work, right? That's the bit that I'm talking about as an understanding, because then you can really understand where you can implement this sort of thing. And I think that's the fundamental thing that you want. So that's two. And the other thing is just get stuff done, right? Identify problems. And this was said by Obama in some sort of interview as well, where it's like just, get stuff done. Don't just come to me with problems or anything like that. So if I was a young person saying that, just always, use the tools that you have available, use the resources that you have available, and try and get as much done as possible without necessarily annoying whoever it is that you're doing. And then, come up with, if there are problems, come up with the recommended steps, issue resolution steps and your recommendations, and then pros and cons. That is appreciated much more than just, hey, I got a problem, I can't open the door, or whatever, problem that people have these days.
What do you think separates clients that are going to be successful in AI?
They should have some sort of infrastructure that enables them to implement AI. What people don't understand
what kind of infrastructure? Technical infrastructure?
Yeah. So there's a lot of technical infrastructure. So they have to have data, right? So for example, I'll give you a very basic example just so to communicate the point. It's an extreme example. But if you don't even have an ERP, right? If you don't even record any data and it's all paper-based, you're just writing things down, and then you're telling me I want to implement AI. Well, guess what? There's fundamental steps that need to happen before you can even implement AI. Right. You need to digitize all your records if it's on, paper registers and stuff. So there needs to be some basic level. And then there has to be an openness, I think. I'm sure we'll get to the data privacy angle as well, but there has to be some openness of if we're using foundation models, which everyone is, right? The OpenAI, the sort of Claudes of the world, etc. It's a sort of full black box, but it is a little bit of a black box in the sense that it goes, in servers and then it's processed and comes back. So they have to be open to the idea that it's not leaking any data, at least not yet. Anyway. It's completely secure. It's more secure than what your laptops would ever be, right? They're on the cloud. They've built that infrastructure. So they have to be open to that idea as well. And I see a lot of resistance on, hey, we're not going to give that data away and all that. But everyone has all these phones that are ubiquitous and everyone's using mobile phones. So you're open to a lot of the data sharing, a lot of ideas on the phone.
Yeah.
You just have to develop that mindset that AI is something similar. Does it completely eliminate the risk? No. But you have to be open to some element of risk to actually automate and use AI to some degree.
Do you think that that's going to limit the growth, or do you think people just get used to it?
I think people get used to it. Not in the very, very, data privacy industries, such as healthcare and financial ones, but in any other sort of normal, less stringent, let's say, less regulated industries, absolutely people will get used to it. We got used to phones. Phones, everyone has a camera, mic, and everything these days. People post all sorts of things on social media. Initially, there was a hue and cry about it. Now we don't even blink an eye, right? So I think that it will come, that we'll accept it eventually, is my opinion.
Okay. Zooming in on our region, on the Gulf, what do you see for the future of AI specifically in the Gulf?
Well, there's been a lot of announcements recently, right? We're recording this in 2025. And in the first half, we've seen a flurry of activity with the UAE signing billions of dollars of infrastructure, Saudi signing even bigger deals, and really positioning itself as the heart of AI infrastructure within the region. So I think it's very exciting because what people don't realize, and people use AI as an abstract concept, reality is AI is also very hardware dependent. So if you come up with you said this in the previous question, if a client comes up with a requirement and says, I want AI on premise or in-house, or I want to implement AI, but I've got a requirement to do it all in-house, then they have to be prepared to invest in hardware. Yeah, AI is as much a hardware play as it is a software and modeling play. I think people forget that. And which is why it's very exciting that GCC has chosen to invest a lot in hardware, because I think with the rise of nations and their pride and I suppose nationalism in a way. But the more infrastructure you control in the AI space, the more sovereign you'll be, and then even the highly regulated industries in that country can also adopt AI. Because then, for example, let's just use Saudi's example, right? If we go into a financial service provider or client right now, they'll always say, hey, there's data residency requirement by the central monetary authority, right? Which is fair. Yeah. But for that, they have to have infrastructure there. Currently, that's limited by only one player or two players, I think, currently in the Saudi region. Others have announced, yeah, but there's still some time away, right? So once the infrastructure is available, it's much easier to use AI and rapid prototyping, even in the highly regulated industries. And I think we'll see that more and more in the region.
How important do you think it is to understand in this age of AI the human aspect of consulting? Is that the last kind of pillar that the AI will replace, or do you think it will replace that as well eventually?
No, I mean, so service business, consulting business, at the end of the day, it's people buy from people. You're not going to buy from a robot. Even if I cold call you with a robot, you'll still, at the end, speak to a human who will then do the transaction. I think our first line of defense, first interaction might be with an AI agent initially. And that will probably change in the future in the sense that, even we have a customer experience offering that we're doing powered by AI, where we're saying, look, it's going to automate your appointment scheduling, it's going to automate your customer experience, the first level of support, right? Anything more complex, human touch, etc., it will always be direct to humans. So similarly, I think eventually the act of buying, and high value ticket items, consulting is normally a high value ticket item, will have to be done by human, and the relationship will still continue. You still buy for people. You still, consulting won't be given to a random cold call from an AI. Still continue as a relationship business. I don't see that going anywhere.
So I have a few rapid fire questions for you. And you give me your answer and then a justification. Okay. What proportion of your business in the next 12 months do you think is going to come from AI or involve AI as a large component for delivery?
So I think about 20% to 20% probably. Today we've got an offering. We are enabling our services with AI, but as I said, a lot of it is internal. And a lot of it is hype and rapid prototyping with clients. But I think as we grow in this space and as we embed that within the client workflow, I think 20-30% will start coming in this year, in the next 12 months. And then I think it'll only grow from there.
Second question. Yeah. What is the most overhyped thing that you see in the market at the moment?
So overhyped, honestly, probably AI as well, right? Whereas you cannot stop talking about AI enough. I do think it's overhyped in the sense that people make it out to be the silver bullet that'll solve everything from climate change to nuclear to political despondency to anything. And that's where I think AI education is important, to know what the limitations are. When you enter a prompt in GPT, what is it really doing and how is it really responding? Is it sentient? People say, hey, it's going to become sentient. It's going to take over the world and soon we'll be left with nothing. And we'll be the second in the pecking order. And all of a sudden, what happens to the people in the second pecking order? They get eaten up by the overlord of AI. If that ever happens, I think it's far away. But I think first, in order to bust that myth, you first have to understand what it's doing currently. And I think it's overhyped.
Final question.
Yeah.
In the next 12 months, what's going to be the premium service that clients are going to be paying an arm and a leg? What are people really going to want? What are your clients going to want in 12 months' time?
How to embed AI in their workflow with the existing mess of the IT landscape and IT legacy infrastructure that they have. Because reality is, yes, you can have a Chat GPT and a Claude and a whatever in a standalone environment and ask it questions. But really, as I said, the unlock of the value is when they start integrating with the messy infrastructure that we bought in the tech, in any industry, and start automating that workflow, start really intelligently answering different things. I think that's where people pay top dollar. They'll pay for the AI expertise, and that'll be human, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be just done by AI. That AI, humans are going to tell you how that whole AI strategy works, how the roadmap will work, and how it'll be implemented and embedded in the workflow. So I think that's where the buck is at currently.
Fantastic. Great insights. Thank you very much, Jibran. So your service is now live on Boonio.
It is.
And Boonio is offering a special discount. We're offering the first 20 market participants that use the service will pay for the service on their behalf. Look forward to users signing up and leveraging your service.
No, it's very exciting, and thank you so much for having me on the first ever Boonio podcast. It's very exciting.
Pleasure. Thank you, Jibran. Should we stop recording?
Yeah.
We don't have any further words of wisdom that we might want to post edit in, reverse engineering to the.
No, but all the wisdom's finished. I don't have it.
I'm sure he'll cut that piece in.
All the wisdom I've distilled in the 40 minutes.